Hello and welcome to this edition of Biology Bites. Now today I'll be talking about the defensive posture of crawdads. Now this comes about from a video I did a while ago about trailer placement. I happen to mention I don't like the wide clawed trailer placements, and I got a comment from a viewer saying, why didn't you like the wide claws? Because I always heard that's a natural presentation. Well, it is a natural presentation, but it's a defensive presentation. Now I'm around here a lot and I take a lot of pictures, and I have some pictures of crawdads. Of course they're out of the water because a lot of times they come out and cruise. But I have a picture right here of a crawdad that was cruising. Suddenly I came up and he was aware of my presence and he went into his defensive posture. Now you will notice that crawdad sitting has its tail tucked underneath and has the claws sitting wide. They're not up, but they're sitting to the side. And that's because he's in his defensive posture. He's aware of a threat. Now I have a picture of a crawdad out of the water again, but just cruising along in his natural, just cruising along position. Now we notice that one, his tail's straight, his claws are straight ahead, he's just cruising along, doesn't feel a threat, just minding his own business. Well, that was sort of why I mentioned the fact that I don't like the trailers with the wide claws. Now, I've had a lot of experience fishing behind people. A friend of mine, big jig guy, loves fish jigs, and he usually sets his up like this. This is one of our swim jigs, but I have one of his, what he likes to use, these peck-a-chunk trailers. Big, huge claws, and he just likes to just crawl them along real slow, and these claws, tend to float up. But it's sitting there looking like a crawdad in its defensive posture, which means it's aware of a threat. And I've also experienced bass in tanks when they go up to a crawdad that's aware of them, and it sits there and puts its claws out. It will actually stare it down, and it'll just sit there and stare it down. It's waiting for it to move. It's waiting for it to take off, because when they take off, they have to tuck their claws in and they become more profile, and that's usually when it'll try. But if that thing just holds its ground, sometimes they'll pop it. Sometimes they'll just grab a claw. Well, sometimes when they grab a claw and the bass, turns with it, and the crawdad turns, it might rip off the claw. Well, guess what? Years of evolution, this is the way they get away. It's kind of like a lizard and its tail. It grabs that, it twists, rips off that claw, the bass spends the time eating that claw, and the crawdad is able to take off and escape. Sure, he lost a claw, and you see a lot of crawdads in the water with only one claw, but it lived. So, fishing with him, a lot of times I would see him catch a few fish on that, and some good fish, but oftentimes see him get a lot of hits, and he'd set the hook and come in and one of his claws is gone. But one tournament I fished behind him. We were partners, and I was fishing my one I said I really like, with the claws forward, like that picture, unaware, just cruising along. And with this, I outfished him 6-1. It was winter, 49 degrees, bass aren't that active. They don't want to mess with a crawdad that's aware of them and in defensive posture, and they might have to mess with them and pop them and chase them. They want something that's just cruising along and has no idea that they're there. And that's what this profile does. This is one of our football jigs, this is one of our pocket craw trailer, but little claws, we have one that's a little bigger, but the claws are straight ahead. Because it's just as natural as a presentation as the claws wide, but it's an unaware presentation. When they have those claws out, yes, natural, but defensive, aware. That's how, like I said, through evolution, they've been able to live another day. So, I hope this helps. Just try normal trailers, try things with claws that are straight ahead, and not those big, wide trailers. Because when they're up, like in that photo, and their claws are wide, and their tail's tucked underneath, they're aware of the bass. And bass always want an advantage. So they'll always hit something that's not aware of them over something that's aware of them. Hope this helps. Until next time.